Words carry an invisible power the instant they are spoken. They meet a moment in a particular way, and a shift can happen. The air in the room may change. The ease between two people can turn. The trust between them may grow stronger or weaker. You might know these moments. You may have experienced them as a human being. Words that create distance or closeness. Words that leave silence or open the way to understanding in ways we cannot always predict. This is how being present to ourselves, to that reality, makes us wiser and better communicators than we were yesterday. Our words travel farther than we can trace. Some soften, some cut. Some are never fully heard for what they meant. We will move through three kinds of permanence together. The moment a word arrives, the distance we still carry from words once said, the very pattern that teaches us to hold back. Think of a time when words left your mouth and immediately you knew the ground had changed. Maybe the words felt necessary when you spoke them. Maybe they were honest. Maybe they arrived from hurt or confusion or the simple need to be heard. You may remember what came before, the pressure building, the need for release, the moment when holding back felt impossible. And then the words came. You watched them land, watched the face across from you change. In that instant, a distance was born that had not existed before. Not because the words were wrong, because they met that particular person in that particular moment. Ease could turn to distance, openness to guardedness. You could sense it. This is not about right or wrong. It is about the creative force of language. Words do not just describe reality, they shape it. The same sentence on another day might have built a bridge. But in that exact moment, it drew a line. Neither of you controlled all the variables. No one does. Yet the words were yours. The consequence became part of your shared history. A single sentence turns the wheel. Words collide with circumstance and human hearts. This does not happen from an intent to harm. It happens because the wrong phrase at the wrong time strikes a spark. That is what it means to be present to the power of language. Words do not merely report what we feel. They summon new realities into existence between us. What they build in a heated moment can endure long after the heat fades. Now think of the words someone spoke to you that created a distance you may still feel. The sentence that revealed a gap between what you hoped and what they saw. The dismissal of what mattered to you. The accusation that was not accurate but remained part of the conversation. You may remember where you were, what was said, how it felt landing. Because certain words do not fade. They settle. They become part of the landscape between you. Presence deepens here into recognition that is specific and felt in the body. You know what it feels like when words create distance. Your mind could name it, the defense that rose without your choosing it. You know this experience from the inside, which means you also carry an understanding of what happens when your words meet someone else's tender places. The person who spoke those words to you was not a villain. They were a human in a moment, speaking from what they felt, believed, or needed to say. The words met you in your circumstances and created something. Neither of you controlled all of it, but both of you lived with what was born in that exchange. You have been on both sides of this mystery. The person whose words created distance they did not intend. The person who received words that created distance they could not prevent. This is the condition of being human and speaking. We speak. Words travel. They meet circumstances. Reactions arise. And then there are the conflicts born not from one moment, but from pattern. The tone that appeared often enough to become expected. The impatience that showed itself in small ways until it became how someone experienced your presence. The care that was absent often enough to be noticed. None of these moments alone would create distance, but together, over time, they shape the atmosphere between two people. Ease becomes caution. Openness becomes guardedness. The willingness to be vulnerable diminishes because the pattern has taught a lesson. This happens through the steady repetition of small moments where words carried less gentleness than the situation needed. The challenge here is quiet. It looks like peace from the outside, but it is actually withdrawal wearing peace's face. The person holds back. Not because you told them to, because the pattern taught them that certain things are safer left unsaid around you. You may have experienced this from both directions. The slow learning that certain topics are not safe with certain people. The gradual closing of parts of yourself because the pattern showed you what happens when you bring those parts forward. And perhaps, if you look without softening, you may have created patterns with others. The ways your words, repeated over time, may have taught someone to withhold rather than share. You may be a presence keeper, someone who is willing to look at pattern clearly. Challenge teaches if you let it. The distance created by words, yours or another's, carries information. What was alive in the moment they were spoken? What pressure? What need? What misunderstanding reaching for an outlet? These are not accusations, they are questions that open understanding. And understanding is the ground where challenges can be addressed rather than simply ignored. You may know which distances in your life trace back to specific moments or to patterns of words over time. That knowledge is not meant to burden you, it is meant to illuminate. Words create. They may have created distance. They can also create bridges. Both possibilities live in every conversation you have not yet had. The next time pressure builds and words begin to form in response, you may have an awareness you did not have before. Not control over all outcomes, but awareness of what words can create when they meet charged moments. The distance that can be born, the pattern that can begin. This awareness gives you a pause and a power, the ability to choose words that might create understanding instead of distance. To speak from care, even when speaking from pain. Choose words that do not wound. Find a language that invites listening rather than defense. Try to see the pattern is forming before it becomes an unbridgeable distance. This is who you may become when you recognize that words shape the world around you in ways both visible and invisible. The moment will arrive again. Words will form and emotions will be present. The outcome might be uncertain. You will speak. The question is not whether to speak. It is what your words will create when they meet this particular moment, this particular person, these particular circumstances. That is presence, with the mystery at the heart of human exchange. Not the absence of challenge, but it is the understanding and the recognition that your words are one of the variables you can shape. This offering is part of the Presence Keeper, an invitation to hold the mystery of how words meet moments, to carry that understanding into the next conversation where the ground might shift. Subscribing is just a gentle way to make sure the next one finds you. Thank you for being here. Your attention gives this moment meaning. I will see you in the next one. Until then, go gently with what your words are about to create.